Hey everyone, welcome to a video for Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards. Any games from this series will contain explicit content, gore, sexual content, violence, language, all the bad stuff that you're not supposed to like or enjoy. So if that stuff offends you, please turn off the video now. Again, there is a warning for awesome, mature content and profanity. Any of these videos in this series will have these. There is no way around it in showing off the content. Therefore, again, if this stuff offends you at any point or before you watch the video, please turn it off rather than complain about it. That is your final warning. Thank you. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to the Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards. I'm now again, this is the fantastic effing friends. So just as a reminder, if you haven't paid attention to the little clip at the beginning, there's obviously going to be some gory or graphic or possibly sexual nature content in this video, so if that's not your thing, please leave now. It's your final warning. So a couple of things to go through before we get into the actual thing. First of all, what is Fantastic Friends? In case you haven't heard of it or you haven't seen any of my previous videos, it was during the last two Kickstarters during Annihilageddon year 2 and Annihilageddon 3 during those two games. They had an add-on where we could buy a year's worth of promo material and cards and stuff. And they're being sent out as mailers once per month. And then there's extra wizard champions, extra familiars for the cards, some extra spells or starter cards. They're primarily for the Annihilageddon game. I say primarily because there were a couple of things that worked for the spellcrafting game, as well as all of the wizard champion cards can be used in there as well. They're just basically then, at that point, used to just show a different character. They don't physically do anything. But they were all able to be used for that. So if you wanted to collect more and more different wizards to swap around your characters, you could obviously get them for that. And during the first year, they were pretty good at getting them out roughly on a monthly, if not bi-monthly basis. Sometimes it slipped a little bit. But it happens. And then year 2, the ball kind of dropped. Stuff happened, and we finally got our first month. Then they combined months 2 and 3, which I've already previously done videos for. I'm gonna do a quick look at those cards in this video, just so everything's together. Because then they add the last 7 months together, along with some extra bonus material. Just because they're Corey, who does the game, was finding it was too hard to get this done month by month. And it's the thing, it's an ambitious idea. It was a fun thing, but it's hard to keep maybe on that schedule, or if something gets delayed when you're printing off a couple of cards here or there. Even if everything was made and designed all at one time, and then just try to get shipped out monthly, that's still even a challenge, because then you have to make sure you have all your priorities and plans in place to get everything shipped out on time, as well as now you have to store how many people ordered stuff for 12 months worth of product. And then the other thing that came up was also adding little extra bits and baubles in there. Like one time we got a CD, we've gotten buttons, coasters, stickers. Try to do whatever could just make a little extra fun bonus in there, but I'm sure that stuff wasn't cheap either. And then foreign countries, lots of times just having stuff shipped one at a time was not cost effective for them, because they end up sometimes getting charged foreign countries being outside of America, sometimes get charged per delivery. So they sometimes opted just to get everything at once anyhow. So you're already doing that for some people. So maybe if they do another one for Epic Spell Wars and Annihilageddon 4, maybe we'll just go a full year all at once. Or something different. If you guys are watching, hit me up in the comments about what you think would be the best way to do this. What you would like to see in the game. I can always maybe direct the comments on the previous Kickstarters or on the website forum if they ever get that up and working again. Just add some extra discussion for people who maybe don't sit involved in that. But yeah, like, what would you like to see? Want more wizards? Do you want more of the extra cards, like the extra different spells or mayhem cards or treasures, or the different like wizards or starter cards? Or you just want more Wizard Champions with their cards. You know, do you want more stuff for the spell building game as well? Maybe you're a fan of that. Maybe you like some more crossover into that. Maybe take some of the Nyla cards and turn them into the spell crafting game. Very cool. And if there are other little extra little bits and bobbles they want to add in there, is there something cool you'd like to see? Would you rather have more things like stickers and pins, or would you rather maybe have maybe more things that are like upgrades to the game itself? Like a good example might even be like I have one here is like we had the cardboard nacho chips, the plastic one. Would you maybe rather have something small like that? Like if we have like a token for something, would you rather have like, oh hey, instead of sending me 10 buttons or 5 coasters, send me like a 3D file for this, or like I mean maybe something like that, like STL file for like some of the different tokens, people can print them off, or upgrade some of the character counters for the death counters to maybe be like, hey, maybe they're the mana symbols, or the, you know, the ability symbols like Primal and Arcane and stuff like that. It's just a different counter to use, just something different like that. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to go over. I don't want to get into, I don't want to crap on Corey at all for not getting these out on time. I'm sure he has a busy life. He's running a company. He's trying to work on the next game. Plus, they have RX Bixby, who's like their main, possibly only artist. So if you have them design each one of these separate, that takes time as well. I'm not going to crap on anybody. It was an ambitious project. I think this kind of fell through the cracks. But we're going to go through all this at once. I'm not going to pull up the extra little bits and bobbles from the first 3 packs. Or two and a half packs, or whatever it is, just because you can go watch my video if you want to see that. I kind of want to go through just the cards that you're going to be getting. And then sometime I might actually do a full video of all the wizards and all their spell books and stuff together. Kind of see what everyone looks like together. The next point of thing I want to go through before I hop into the thing are sleeves. So I use the BCW Continental Postcard sleeves, which are 4 3/8 inches by 6 1/4. 6 1/4. There are 100 in here. There are currently 113 Wizard Champions if you own everything from all 5 spellcrafting games, all 3 Nyla games, the Gangbangers expansion, both Fantastic Friends promo packs, as well as any Kickstarter promos that would have come out, which should have probably just been in one of the other boxes. Both of the Monster Manual boxes that had some promo characters in them, as well as the few other random promo cards that have been out. So 114 of these. So you'd have to buy 2 of these to be able to cover every single one, and that would still leave you with enough to cover the next year. And if you don't own everything, you could probably get by with 1, depending on if you're about 14 short. So you might be able to only get 1 of these. So yeah, like when I do mine, I'm just going to grab one of my characters already have sleeved. I really like these. They fit left to right pretty darn well. The top is there's a little bit of overhang here. I will mention when you put these in the Monsters Manual minion box, this does get bent a little bit, but you could even potentially just cut all these off to make them flat if you want. Now, are they holding them in there super tight? Nope, they can slide out pretty easy. But these things, whether you sleeve them or not, is up to you, because they just sit on the table and keep track of your points. So they don't actually physically do it. You don't have to keep picking them up. You don't have to ever really shuffle them. Just some people like me like to keep stuff protected. Not saying that I'm not the only one, because they did offer some through the campaigns. Now, they offered 2 different types. They offered one of these that came with, as a backup, which is listed as Nyla 3, and not for spellbooks. This came with some of the other stuff, but this is one they re-gave us the after I think the initial ones that were supposed to come. We got some for Nyla 2, and when 3 came out, they sent us these instead. And then they resent out these ones, which have, this is one from Nyla 2, and I think they did resend some out later for Nyla 3. So the difference between these, just want to show off, so these are the proper ones they wanted you to have. Look like this. So they do have a little hole in the middle. Just keep in mind in that. But if I grab one of my new wizard cards and we slide them in there, Now, here's what's going to happen. So now, on the edge, there's more on the edge than this one. So these ones are pretty tight. They're not really tight, but they're a little bit, not much. This has a lot more leeway. But these are also a little bit tighter sleeves, so this doesn't fall out nearly as easy. But in case you didn't want it to, it goes right to the top of there. And the idea is you can then fold this down. Now, the only thing I don't like this about is that's just going to keep it from ever falling out. And you can kind of have that as loose or as tight as you really want. But it's going to have a little crease on there. So either going to be on that side or it's going to be on part of the picture. I mean, you could put it on the bottom if you want. But that's just something to mention. So if you are looking at picking up sleeves and you want to order it from them, I don't have the official sizes. I don't know where they ordered these from. But these are the ones they were sending. This was the other one that they sent out. And this one has a lot bigger area in there and a lot bigger area there. So you can see these are obviously not nearly as good. So that's why everyone wanted replacements. This does peel off, so it will be translucent. But you'll see that little seam of that card. Again, not that big of a deal. But those are the 3 different options we have for the sleeves. Again, these are the ones I prefer. Again, they just sit in the box. They're not that big of a deal for that stuff. Alright, so let's hop into what we actually have here. So first of all, we have a letter from Corey. I'm not going to read through all this. You can kind of pause it if you want. But they also send a Krypton's figurine to go with it. I did not show that in this video just because it has nothing directly to do with Epic Spell Wars. And if they ever decide to re-release these as just a promo pack, they might not include, they're not going to probably include all the stickers and buttons and stuff. And if they do, they're probably not going to give you a free Krypton's figure. So I didn't want to include that because it had nothing to really do with it. But we are looking excited for Epic Spell Wars and Dragon 4 coming out. So cool with that. Alright, then let's look at some of the non-stuff as we have some new stickers. We're going to zoom in a bit here. We have a couple of devil ones. We have Satan ones. We have You're Fired with Satan and President Asshole there. So I'm not saying that to be mean. That's the name of the character on the card. We have just a Hail Satan card. And we have a Party Time card. So lots of this is reusing artwork from the cards that are already designed into stickers, which is neat. You know, nothing wrong with that. And we have some little buttons. We have a little middle finger, a 666, a medal, and a skull and crossbones. So again, kind of neat. You know, if that's something you like. I personally, I like the idea of this stuff. I would rather have more stuff aimed at stuff for the game upgrades myself. Or game stuff. Which is why I'm kind of glad with this big bundle, because normally I would have gotten 7 things to go with each one of these. Instead, we just got the 2. Okay, fine little extra trinkets. But for me, they're just going to end up going in a box and sitting off to the side, because they're not game stuff. Alright, so let's first of all look at what we had in previous packs. So in the first pack, or year pack 1, we had the Crybabies. So flip over their card here. So whiny little fucking Crybabies. And then we had their familiar card, which was the Contract. Back up a little bit. So this looks like the Contract from Dragon 2, which is kind of fun. So familiar has +2 power. Discard your hand and draw that many cards. For defense, discard just to avoid an attack. If you do, draw a card. And draw a card. Sorry. If you do, you and the attacker each discard your hand and draw cards equal to the number of cards discarded. So you discard avoid attacking your and then Party 1 signature to sign on there. That's a really fun little extra card. And then we have their spell book. So, Bitch Ass Law Book. Ongoing, each player must draw and discard cards at the beginning of their turn before playing any cards. If they fail and you call them out, you may draw a card. So let me actually do this quick. put these up next to each other so we can kind of see how they kind of work together. Each player must draw and discard cards at the beginning of their turn before playing any cards. If they fail and you call them on it, you may draw a card. So that's basically this whole thing is all about discarding and drawing cards, refreshing your hand. Kind of keeps everything a little bit more chaotic as well. Because yeah, you discard your card over here to do stuff. Be out of the book. You must draw and discard cards at the beginning of your turn. Yeah, if they don't do any, then you can go ahead and draw extra cards so you can keep your hand going. So that's pretty interesting. They don't really like work necessarily together, like one doesn't benefit the other more than the other, but they have very similar effects. Alright, then for pack number 2, we got 2 brand new spell cards. Now, these I think are a little bit more hit or miss for some people when they do stuff like this, because they're specifically geared towards the F-ingtastic Friends membership. So it says, Illuminated Leader. You may buy this if you're a F-ingtastic fucking friend and you have permission of an FFF to buy it. Destroy this. After your turn ends, rearrange all cards in your deck and discard pile into a new deck. You decide the order of these cards, then draw your hand. This is pretty darn powerful. So you can go ahead and rearrange all the cards in your deck and discard pile into a new deck, then decide yours. Basically stack your deck. But you can only use it once. Then the other one, we have Good Old Gorzo. So again, you have to have a F-ingtastic friend to buy this. Destroy this, all your attacks this turn do triple damage. These are like super powerful cards, which are pretty fun, but again, the idea is just to be like, hey, you're a member, you bought this extra stuff, you really supported the game, here's some super power cards that you can use. They're kind of interesting that way, but again, I can see where people might be like, we'll just play with them, ignore that rule. Obviously, you own it, so we're going to let you use it. But yes, it's kind of interesting. They're just special bonus cards. Then for pack 2 and 3 came together, is we had, I'm just going to show this side, we had Mrs. Claus and the Elves. We did have a Santa before, but now we have a Mrs. Claus and the Elves to kind of go with that as a theming. Alright, then we have the Elves, which have +2 power, attack, target foe draws a card and takes damage equal to twice its cost. Defense, discards to avoid an attack and draw 2 cards. You may give one or both of those cards to the attacker. Target foe draws a card and takes damage equal to its cost. So it's punishing people when they have for drawing bigger cards. And then the defense is you can decide to get rid of your crappy cards that you don't want. Then for our spell book, we have a Christmas Peril, which says ongoing. Put a card of cost of 1 or greater from your discard pile and your target player's discard pile. So it has to be 1 or greater, so you can't get rid of starter cards with this spell book, but you can get rid of cheaper cards that maybe you don't want anymore. Maybe you bought something like a 1 or like a 2 or 3 cost card. Then later in the game, you can start getting rid of cards out of your deck, clogging up your opponent's deck with cheaper cards to make their bigger ones worthless. And then the other one, you can actually get rid of starter cards as well. So it's kind of a fun way to like stack your deck. Unfortunately, I wish cards like this is they had negative cards, like trap cards that could get stuck in your deck, or cards that maybe had like a high benefit, high cost. More things like that, like a risk reward. It might be like, when you play this, gain a big bonus, but then also do this. Like, hey, maybe do like, you did do 10 damage to someone, but you have to take 10 damage. Because that might be like, oh, I really want this, but might hurt somebody else. And maybe you want to give them that, because maybe early in the game, yeah, it's a good card, or maybe it's even something like a really cheap card, like it costs 2 and it does 5 damage. Not a whole lot, but it does 10 damage too. So you might buy it early on because then you can gain a little quick advantage at potential risk to yourself, but then later in the game, you're like, I gotta stop doing this, I can't die as much. But, that's what that is. Alright, so those are the first 3 that came out. So now we're gonna look at some of the new stuff. Now, unfortunately, I don't have, like, what would have come out month 4, month 5, month 6. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the, we're gonna do, like, a mage card, and then we're gonna do, like, a non-mage card. We're gonna kind of go in that order. And since we just looked at a mage card, let's look at a non-mage card. So we have 5 brand new starter cards. Which are always fun. You can swap these out for your other starters. So this replaces one of your fizzles. It's a sizzle fizzle. If you destroy this card and attack with a cost of 1 or greater, attack deal 10 damage to target foe. This attack is unavoidable. Try this. If you destroy this and a card with a cost of 1 or greater, so get rid of 2 cards, you deal 10 damage to target foe. This attack is unavoidable. So that's a pretty cool way to get rid of a starter card. Have to sacrifice something else to do a lot of damage. I always like these extra starter cards just as being alternatives, because the other ones are kind of basic. But I know there's different other fun ones in there, just to add some more craziness to the game are cool. So yeah, really fun there. Alright. Then for our first wizard, and I'm just going to show off the horizontal side, is we have Mage Genka, the Scarlet Sorcerer. So this is a really fun card and idea. I really love it. I'm going to show off a reason why in just a moment. Why I really love this idea. So first of all, we have their familiar, which is the Orange Gypsy. It says, draw a card, attack. Each foe reveals their hand, plays a spell from each foe that revealed at least 1 spell. Cool, so you get to play other people's cards. Defense, discards to avoid an attack. If you do, return all creatures in your discard pile to the top of your deck in any order, then draw a card. So it gets you back a bunch of your creatures. And then he has the Red Book, which has ongoing. Put the top 3 cards of your deck into your discard pile. If a creature was among the cards discarded, draw a card. Then if all 3 were creatures, put them in your hand instead of your discard pile. Awesome. So what this basically is going to let you do, if you play Orange Gypsy, and you use your defense, you can stack your deck with creature cards. And then here it can let you get all them cards back in very quickly. Otherwise, you can kind of cycle through to try and find stuff. It's a very interesting thing. So by itself, the spellbook it's okay. You might get multiple creatures, but chances are you're probably just going to be drawing a card. But if you get lucky enough, you might get some extra stuff. So what I love about this card and the person is, so we have Magenta, which is red, fighting the orange character, which is the Orange Gypsy. In year 1, in Fantastic Friends 1, we had Cerulean, the Cobalt Conjurer, who is fighting his familiar, which is the Scarlet Sorcerer. So we had the blue fighting the red, and then we get the red fighting the orange. So I'm kind of hoping we continue with this cycle, and then either end it right away and we get orange fighting blue, or maybe we have orange fighting purple, then purple. You could continue this line in the main circle of 5 colors: blue, red, yellow, orange, green, purple, pink. You can go up to all the Roy G. Biv colors. You have 7 different ones. So it'd be kind of fun to get that. Now there's no spell book for the Cerulean Wizard, unfortunately. But now we know what the ones in the red book, we just imagine it'll be the blue book, and then they'll have the orange book. But that could definitely be a really fun cycle to continue around on the game. So I kind of wanted to just point that out. I really love that when I saw that they did that in this set. Alright, so let's look at some non-wizard cards. We have 2 more Mayhem cards. So, again, I'm kind of up and down the Mayhem cards for these sets because they are really... More cards are always fun for the game, but these are ones, again, that have mentions of being a fantastic friend. So again, if you're using that strictly as a rule, what's printed on the card, it might not make the game as fun for everybody. It says each player votes for 1 player. Each player who receives the highest number of votes is defeated. No votes may be cast for a member of a fantastic fucking friends. So basically that means I own this card and I'm playing with all my friends or whoever. No, and this card is we put this in the deck because it's my card. I can't be voted against. It gives me immunity. So it's a fun card in general, but adding that extra thing on there, if you do follow those, makes it a little unfair. And the second one says each player may give another player a card of the cost of 1 or greater from their discard pile. If they do, they draw a card. If they give one to a fantastic friend instead, they get 2 cards. So that one kind of almost works the other way. But then it's also, again, skewing it your direction. Like, hey, maybe you're winning the game, they don't want you to, but getting that extra card might be worth it to them. So who knows? They already mentioned on here, they have PC and PD for promo. So we had 2 that were in the first year, which are PA and PB. So that way, every time they add more of these, we can kind of keep track of them versus... and now getting 1, 2, and 3, everyone that adds Mayhem cards has a different number in there, so we know which ones are from which decks. Although they do have the different pictures on them as well. But yeah, you can always add more of these or swap these out, however you feel like doing it. So very, very cool. Alright, so that's just some new stuff there. Alright, so then our next wizard is going to be the members of the Magnus Minion and Manual Society. So this is the first big book they had that held all the cards. Your wizard champion cards plus your spellbooks and your familiars. Which I've done several videos showing that off. This is kind of fun. We did a little set of characters based on them. So we have we'll just put both of them up right now. So we have our familiar, which is the Oculus of the MMM. Plus 1 power, draw a card. You may pay 1 less to buy a wizard this turn. Defense, discard to avoid the attack. If you do, draw a card and you may put a wizard from under your spellbook into your hand. So by itself, ignoring the thing with the spellbook part, for the turn you play it, get 1 power, draw a card. Cards cost 1 less. So it's not the best, but not the worst, generally. So then our spellbook is the Magnus Minions and Manual. Zoom in on these guys a little bit more to see what some of that says. It says, at the start of the game, put 3 wizards from the main deck or anywhere else under this spellbook. Ongoing, you pay 1 less to buy wizards. You may buy wizards under this spellbook. So cool. So that way you have 3 that only you have access to. End of the game, if there are no wizards under the spellbook, your wizards are worth an additional VP. Then you also get an additional victory points for buying those 3. So putting out, you're like, haha, I can put under a bunch of like 6, 7, 8 cost cards, really powerful guys that only I have access to. But then it's going to be harder for you to just purchase those 3 cards. Whereas if you put, a couple of 2s and 3s under there, you're going to be able to buy them without a problem. Because you also have to remember, you have to get this spellbook first. It doesn't start out right away, and people could do something to destroy it or whatever. Although if you have the familiar, it says if you use that to defend, you may draw a card, you may put a wizard from your spellbook into your hand. So again, that'll help you get that a little bit quicker. So there could be a combination of, with the familiar, is putting them really high cost cards in there. Alright, and then we're going to break away from the wizard other card thing, because our second set of wizards are the Egregious Ephemeral Gang. So this is the second spell book holder that came out. The big red one. This one had some extra promo cards in it. But it also has storage for basically, it's supposed to be idea for bunch of your other stuff. For not your spell cards and your wizards, but like for some of the tokens and other stuff. It's designed kind of odd. I've done a video on it. You can go check that out. But yeah, it's kind of fun. We get one for this as well. So again, callbacks to some of the old stuff are really fun. Anytime you have a callback to old things in the game. So here we have the Egregious Eye, plus 1 power, draw a card, and you pay 1 less to buy creatures this turn. Defense, discard this to avoid an attack. If you do draw a card, you may put a creature from a spellbook into your hand. So this would be the exact same thing, but it's using creatures instead of wizards. So then we have at the start of the game, put 3 creatures from the main deck anywhere under the spellbook. Ongoing, you pay 1 less to buy creatures. You may buy creatures on the spellbook. No creatures under the spellbook. It counts as 3 creatures. There are no creatures under the spellbook. It counts as 3 creatures. Interesting. So it must have a bonus for being a creature. I don't remember the rules on that for creatures. Or if it's just a creature has a victory point of 1, if that's just what it means, it counts as 3 creatures at the end of the game. So I don't recall creatures necessarily having any special rules over anything else. I'm just looking quickly in the original book here, as long as I have it sitting right here. Oversized, attack, defense, and ongoing shuffling, discard, destroying, gaining cards. Yeah, there's nothing that really specifies creatures as anything other than just being a different type. Like, you know, we have wizards and we have creatures. So yeah, very interesting what that exactly means. No creatures on this, it counts as 3 creatures. So unless there's something out there that benefits if you have multiple creatures out, that might be what's doing it. Which could be kind of cool as well. So now we're going to get like a 3rd book or holder at like next year, and then we'll have one for spell cards. It could be the 3rd type, which would be kind of cool. Again, kind of going back to this. That's just neat about the Fantastic Friends stuff, because we had that. We've had, you know, the Corey and the RX Bixby. We've had Gonzo, like the things. We've had like references to other things from the game as well. Awesome. So now we're going to look at 2 more Fantastic fucking friend cards. These are the next promos. We have Bad Bixby. You may buy this if you're friends or have permission. Destroy this. Gain any familiar from outside the game. So cool. That's just if you want to have this super overpowered card. And then we have the Naughty Nipples. Destroy this. Rub someone else's nipples. Rub someone's nipples. Yours count. And moan suggestively. Then you may destroy exactly 2 cards in your discard pile. Now, I don't know, like, obviously, again, lots of stuff, people might not do that, but any familiar could be very powerful. And then, like, just a comparison, we have stack your deck however you want. That could be very powerful, could combine some effects, or all your attacks do triple damage. Great for one time. You might be able to wipe everyone 1 round, and then it's done. Kind of, again, stack your deck, but then, you know, you can only do so much, even if your next turn is like, I did a draw this, and I'm looking for we just had that 1 card, which is like, the red book. If you had the 3 creatures, that could help you with that right away. Destroying exactly 2 cards in your discard pile could be very helpful, might not. So these are kind of odd, interesting. The familiar, I think, is like a way almost overpowered, but kind of neat though is now we got 4 of them. So if you're playing a 4-player game, and you have all these, you could then randomly shuffle them up and deal 1 out to each player, and then be like, hey, each one of you guys can start with 1 of these cards to use once per game. That could be interesting to do. And if they made some more of these here and there, that'd be kind of neat, like almost a little bit overpowered, you know, like one-time cards. So cool. Much better again, I think, when you have all 4 of them. When you have 4 of them, so every player can get 1. All right, then we have Jams, the DJ Wizard, who can go with our soundtrack from the previous set. So explicit advisory content up there, parental advisory. So he is going to have. The only thing I would laugh if this references the CD at all. Beats the Brain. +2 power. Start a rap battle. Sing a verse, then a player on your left must sing a verse immediately that ends the word that rhymes with the word that ended your verse. This continues until a player fails. That player is defeated. Defense. Discards your winning attack and draw a card. If you do, draw another card. If you go a freestyle 2-verse diss rap about the player who attacked you. Okay, so it's fun, it's interesting, but I can see a lot of people not wanting to play this because, some people just don't like that. They don't mind the context of the game, but they don't want to do additional extra stuff like stand up and turn around or don't talk for a turn. Sometimes people don't like them in games, especially when it's not the core concept of the game. If you're playing a fun, goofy board game, and that's what the whole entire point is, then you have to be on board with that. But like just randomly having to do something like this might not work for some people. But yeah, it just depends on who you're playing with. Some people might love this card and want to play it all the time. Yeah, to avoid attack, you do draw a card. If you do draw another card, you do a 2-style diswrap. Okay, so that's interesting. Then spellbook is the fucking Wizard's Jams. Says, ongoing, if a player attacks you before saying, yo, 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 take these mad beats, sucker, that player's attack is void. So kind of, again, just a verbal thing, forcing a good. So, very interesting. What would be kind of odd or funny with this, just in tying with the Fantastic Friends promos, which I get might not work as well if someone didn't buy this, would have almost been like, you play this card because it had the CD that came out in the first year. And it would have been almost fun to have a callback to that and been like, sing 2 lines from that, from one of the songs. And if you can't, then you get a doing effect. Or challenge somebody else to do it, and if they can't, then their attack is denied. That would have been kind of fun as well, just to kind of round that back in. But yeah, still interesting. Like, I'm not going to ever crap on these cards because they're extra promo cards. Not every single promo card needs to be like the perfect thing or always 100% balanced. It's very, very fun. Alright. Then we have this special card here. So we have a brand new spell. It says, Gotta Go Mark. So in the Gotta Go Mark here, we have a giant poo with toilet paper. It says, ongoing, place Pussyberry Guzzle, Enchanted Butt Plug, Viagra's Vitality, Jakoshin, and God's Tears Asshole Cream under this card. You may buy them once per turn. So we're kind of playing again this concept of getting to play your own cards. So this kind of sits out. Again, someone can destroy this and you lose all of them. But we do have these extra cards to play. So God's Tears Asshole Cream says, draw a card. You may then place your deck into your discard pile. You may place this under Gotta Go Mark. Put a card from your discard pile into your hand. Okay, cool. So this is kind of a fun card. So draw a card, then place your deck into your discard pile. So basically, if like you just bought a bunch of cards, you might want to like turn your deck into your discard pile. Then the next time you draw, you have to reshuffle it out, get your cards back into your deck quicker. Put a card from your discard pile into your hand. So you can basically play this card, do this effect, and then what you can do is you can get rid of this. Or instead, you may place this under there to put a card from your discard pile into your hand. So you have an optional effect to put this back into there, and then you have to get a card from your discard pile. So it's kind of fun. Interesting concept. Viagra's Vitality Jakoshin. All his callbacks to Viagra's. And this is your first card you have played this turn. Discard your hand and draw 6 cards. Very common deck building card. Place this under Gotta Go Mark. Put this card from your discard pile into the target foe's hand. If the card has a cost of 6 or greater, get plus 6 power. So give somebody else a card to gain 6 power. Interesting. The Enchanted Butt Plug. Destroy a card in your discard pile, or put this back under your card. Gain a random card at the cost of 1 or greater from the pile of destroyed cards. Nice. And some of these kind of work kind of together. You can use it one time, then go back to the other one. And then we have the Pussyberry Guzzle. Plus 2 power. You may place this back under Gotta Go Mark. Each foe reveals the top card of the deck. Play 2 of these cards, then place the cards in the exposed discard pile. Neat. And we have a 1 cost, a 2 cost, a 3 cost, and a 4 cost. Now it does cost 8, so it's going to cost a lot to put out. But you may buy them once per turn. Now, here would almost be a fun little extra mechanic to play with this card, is have something like this just sitting out all the time. And you can even add other cards under this if you want, but the thing is they wouldn't have special effects. But you can have this out for everyone to use, and maybe even be something like, okay, we can't unlock it until someone pay a total of 8, so everyone can play points here or there. And then once 8's been played, consistently over everybody else, we paid the cost to open the go mark. Then anyone could buy these cards because they all have the effect of either use that effect or you could put it back under for an additional effect. So people could keep recycling these back under for other people to buy. But that makes them even more of a dangerous card because do you keep it for its effect or do you return it to the thing, potentially letting somebody else buy it? Which also gives them victory points and stuff too. So could be a very fun or interesting idea. So very cool. Alright. Then we have a new wizard. We have Jimmy Hazard and the Adventure Team, which is of course a reference to Johnny Quest, and then probably even to an extent a reference to the Venture Brothers. Like in that kind of goofy thing. We have the kid, their Asian sidekick, which is Johnny Quest, and then we have the mad scientist dad, and like the big bulky bodyguard. Yeah, it's very cool. Interesting thing to do. Then we have our sidekick Sushi. We just chopped the guy while he's holding a gun. +2 power, yell, Karate Chop, then draw a card. Deal damage to target foe equal to its cost. So you have a bunch of these effects where you're randomly getting to deal damage based on what you have. But again, this just also means getting rid of your cheaper cards makes these things more powerful. Defense. Discard a skill blowing attack and go Karate Block. And then draw a card. The attacker takes damage equal to the cost of the card you drew. So really fun. So neat idea playing on that mechanic. Then we have the Journal Hazardous Life. Ongoing. When you gain the standee, draw a card and turn in one of your Dead Wizard tokens face down. Okay, so that's kind of neat. So if you gain the standee, whatever the standee's effect is, or however you're using it, whichever game you're playing, you get to draw a card, and then, so you get it whenever you defeat somebody, and then you get to turn one of your Dead Wizard tokens face down, so basically you don't have to suffer some of its effects. So it's kind of a neat idea. Does it really work with the other guy? Not really, at all. Doesn't really have that whole lot of synergy. It does in the fact that you're dealing extra damage to them, so you might get to activate that more often. But yeah, it's not a direct combination. But not all of them are, and not all of them are going to be. Alright, then for our next non-wizard, we have 2 brand new ability tiles. Now these are fun, adding more of these, just for something different to do in the game. So for the first one here, we have when you shuffle your deck, gain an extreme nacho chip. So I did kind of show them off earlier. These are from Annihilageddon 2. So if you only owned 1, or you bought this with 3 and you don't own 2, you skipped over 2. These are the nacho chips. So the game comes with little cardboard ones. You can buy the 3D upgraded printed ones, which are really cool. And basically, there's certain cards in Annihilageddon 2 that give you bonuses when you play chips. So certain guys will be like, if you play a chip, do this, or if you spend extra chips, do this or that. Basically buffing your different cards. But this does say, if you are not playing with the Annihilageddon 2, you use the Nacho God's Shack menu from 2. Now again, this ends up with the problem being, if you don't own 2, you don't have this. So it does make this tile is completely useless. I will put up that tile though in just a moment so we can kind of see what that does. So if you want to you don't own 2, you can always take a picture of it and be like, hey, I can at least write it down. But our other tile is ongoing has turn this tile face down. You may exchange any number of Dead Wizard tokens with Dead Wizard tokens of other players. So you only get to use this ability once, but it's going to let you swap out a bunch of your abilities. So that could be a really fun, interesting thing. There are some wizards with their spellbooks and familiars, as well as some cards that you can try and gain a lot of Dead Wizard tokens. So that way you give you more options to get rid of the ones that are really bad for potentially other ones. So that could be a really fun ability. Alright, so here is the... I'm going to try and see if I can get this completely into frame for everybody. Sorry that it is not level. But yeah, this is what you can use the Nacho Gods Snack Shack mini board for. It says anything on the mystery menu costs 3 chips. Just says when you shuffle your deck, gain a chip. So if you're not playing Armageddon 2, it's gonna be a pain to get all these, but you might only get like 2 or 3 per game, potentially depending how often you shuffle your deck. Early on, you'll get more, but then later as the game gets, you have more cards in your deck, you'll be going through it less probably. But it says reveal the top card of the main deck. If it is a Mayhem card, attack, deal 6 damage to all foes. A location. Gain a location and put it directly into play. A spell. Destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. Makes you shuffling your deck quicker. Wizard. Heals 6 HP. Creature. Draw 2 cards. Treasure. Gain 6 extreme nacho chips. So that would just help you get, potentially, something else. If it's anything not on this list, take an extra turn. So that could be if for some reason anything else gets shuffled into the game. So maybe if for some reason a spellbook or familiar got mixed into there. Satan cards somehow get mixed into there. We do technically have these guys here. Like on the backs, they are the same cards. So you could actually shuffle all of these into the deck as well. If you don't want to just hang them out as beginning cards. So that could be some interesting stuff as well. Yeah, it's very, very cool. So that's a very neat way to, like, this is something that I find fun with the game, alright? So, like, we're taking stuff from the previous games, and we're adding in to make it something interesting. Like, they did that with the one that had some more gangbanger cards, some of the gangs. I would love some more of those to make them a little bit more relevant. Maybe even the next year, we have some different things for the Satan deck. Kind of just to, like, hey, you've been buying all this stuff. If you're doing a special promotion like this, give extra bonuses to the people that own all the different stuff to call back to the other one. And someone's like, yeah, but I don't own all of it. I didn't buy this or buy that. And it's like, that's fine, but like, if you have access to it, I get the Gangbanger ones harder because if it's Kickstarter exclusive stuff, it's harder to do that. But even here, you could just make up your own nacho chips, use dice or something. They have ways around that if you don't own the second set. So that's very cool as well. Alright, so then the last wizard we have in here is King Cruel Candy and the Terrible Treats, which this would be one of those ones. I like whenever you get the ones with a bunch of different little characters, I wish they'd make these into more of the gangs. I'd find that really fun. Personally. Or like the Hazard ones, we had the Rangers. Just where their groups of familiars would be, I think, fun to be a little gang card where each one has a different card. Alright, so for the Terrible Treats, we have put the lowest card in the lineup on top of your deck. Attack. The foe must choose Trick or Treat. If they choose Trick, you may place a card from your hand into their discard pile. If they choose Treat, you gain the top card of their deck. You may place a card from your hand into their discard pile. So you can get rid of your stuff. Or, you don't have to. They choose that you gain the top card. If they choose Treat, you have to take the top card of their deck. Defense. Discard the willing attack. If you do draw a card and redirect the attack to the attacker. That's kind of fun. So interesting stuff there. Our spellbook is just warning, do not ingest. Ongoing. When you gain a card with the cost of 1 or greater without buying it, you may destroy a card in your hand. Okay, cool. So anytime you gain a card without paying for it, you get, so it could be the lowest cost card from playing Terrible Treats or from the attack. Plus there's other ways we've seen to gain cards. So that's pretty fun. And again, what's also really neat about the way this game works is because you can use one familiar, you can use any other character spellbook if you want. You can mix and match them. You don't have to do them together. Most of the time they synergize really well. But there's nothing that says you have to use those together. You can switch them up as much as you like. It's very cool. Alright, then the very last thing we have is for Epic Spell Wars Battle Wizards, which is the shuffle building game, which is the original one. So we actually have 3 promo cards. I have a third stand here. And we'll kind of scooch these guys over. So if you don't own the spell building game, then this part of the promotion would be very useless to you. But what's really fun about this is because these were old promo cards that were hard to get. They were from like early events when the game was first coming out. I think before I started hitting Kickstarters and stuff with the Annihilation. So these were hard ones to find. So like this is a great way for people to. The only other promo cards I think that were out there that weren't part of the Kickstarter or the Fantastic Friends or one of these extra things to buy was Stud Spell Slammer, which came with the statue. Abracadabra, the Labrador, who was part of one of the event kits, and then there was 2 wizards, which were based off some celebrities. Those are the only one. But again, they were just the characters, so they didn't, they're just there for extra looks. But here we have Hagatha the Heifers, Crushing Azorian Godstorm. So some people might already own this from way back when, because it was an old promo card. But it's also not a bad thing, is on the other hand, is because lots of the cards from the spellcrafting game usually have 2 copies of every card. So this would give them a second copy if they didn't have it. So the first one says deal 1 damage to your foe on your left for each card in your spell. Nice. So basically, the bigger your spell is, the more damage it does. Crushing Azora says deal 2 damage to each of your weaker foes. And then Godstorm is target the foe, 3 foes on your right. Roll a die. So if you roll 1 to 4, deal 1 damage and heal you 1 HP. 5 to 9, deal 2 damage. 10 plus, deal 2 damage and you heal 2 HP. So if you're not familiar with how the spell building game works, this is a quick thing, is you place down a card, up to 3 cards, 1 from each of these things, from either a yellow source, an orange quality, or a red delivery. And then you all reveal them at the same time. And then whoever has the highest number on this card gets to go first. So playing lower level cards means you get to go quicker, or playing less than 3 cards means you get to go quicker, but you have less effects to do. And you're just trying to attack your opponents and do stuff. But you can mix and match with all the different stuff. So you might have any other card you can switch around and have different things. And then if you have the more different symbols you have that match, when you do a power roll, you get to roll more dice for each of your matching symbols. So this you get 3 primal, you get to do, you gotta roll 3 dice, which have a better chance of getting that 10. If you just played the 1 green card, 1 primal card for this, you probably only get to roll 1 die. It means you only get the first effect, so basically the more you get. So if you play all 3 of these together, this should be pretty great, because that means the guy on your left would take 3 damage, then 2 damage to anyone that's weaker than you. So at the time you play this, that could be everybody, but it could also add in the player on your left, because it would hit them. They might drop down to also now be your weaker foe as well. Anyone has less health than you, so they could potentially take an additional 2 damage. And then Godstorm would hit all the other 3 players. So if you're playing a 4-player game, it would hit, if you're player 1, it would hit player 2, 3, and then it also hit player 4 who's on your left. So it hit them another time for potentially up to another 2 more damage. So if you plan this right, you could deal 1 player could take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, and you only start with your 20 health, just like any other card. So that could do quite a bit of damage. Be pretty fun. Alright, so that is what we have for this video for the Epic Spell Wars Battle Wizards Fantastic Friends promotion. Hope you guys enjoyed. If there's other videos you'd like to see me read, like I said, maybe I'll re-go through a bunch of the wizards, show off them with their familiars and stuff like that. Or if you like, just like, hey, go through all the epics, all the Annihilation stuff, maybe just, what are all the attack creatures, what are all the spell cards, maybe do like videos like that. Let me know. Quick add-in to here, I accidentally dropped this card, so I forgot about it, is we had one more promo card. We had Corey the Effing Wizard. So of course he made himself not only a wizard champion, but he made himself a regular wizard as well. Why not? Your game. You need to do that. So this says, Cost 10, and 6 BP, so very powerful. Draw 2 cards. You may then swap any word on this list with another word on this list in the next card you play. Destroy, draw, gain, put, wizard, creature, treasure, spell, location, legend, deck, random, foe, greater, less, reveal, discard, all, target, turn, game, defeat, damage, spellbook, and familiar. Wow. Obviously there's some stuff in there that if you did, it's going to break the card and it's not going to make any sense. Like if it says draw a card and you change it to target a card or legend a card or whatever, some of them aren't going to make sense. But it's not the idea isn't to try and break the game in that way. But could definitely be some interesting different things you could do with that. Because it could be like, instead of draw, instead of like gain a, instead of gain a creature from the thing, you could say like gain a spellbook, gain a familiar. If it says, target player takes 10 damage, you could be like target foe takes 10 damage, like all foes take 10 damage. It says until the end of turn, you could put till the end of game. Like, you could find some busted stuff to do with this. But yeah, it can be very interesting to do. I don't have a bunch of the cards sitting right here to, like, just double check what all of them could do, but let me grab, I have some of the familiars here just quick, so I'm going to grab, 2 familiars off the top of this pile. We just look at them and see what we could do. So you can change any of this stuff. So there's a couple of things it doesn't have on here. It doesn't have power, so you can't adjust power to be something else. You can't turn... That'd be a fun card, too, is turn positives to negatives and stuff like that. Also doesn't have, bolded keywords, like wand isn't on here. Power or attack, defense, those big ones aren't on. So you can't turn, an attack into a defense and stuff like that. I'm also noticing it doesn't say opponent. I'm just looking at some of the words it doesn't use. Because I first looked at it right here, we had handle the living wand. It says attach each opponent discards a wand. You may play each wand discard this way. You may discard this to avoid an attack. To draw a card, if the attack was a wand, immediately played it targeting any player. So, the few things you could adjust, and I'm going to zoom out just a bit so we can see. Let me grab another easel here. That's kind of what I look at. I'm not going to do this for a ton of these, but this is a very interesting card to look at for just by play familiar. Some of the other cards might be better, but it says each opponent discards. So can we change discarding in there? Discards. We do have discards. So it says each player draws a wand. You could possibly do that. But it doesn't have anything about opponent. It doesn't have each. So none of that. So some of these might not work as well as you'd hope for. Instead of draw a card, you could have each player. Each opponent draws a wand card. I don't know if that would really even work unless there's a wand pile. You could have destroys a wand. So that could be interesting. But I wonder if something like this, so if it says swap a word on the switch with any other. So if I swapped discard to destroy, if that would change this card to say attack, each opponent destroys a wand, and you may play each destroyed wand this way, which I assume is what it would mean. And I assume some stuff you might have a little bit of target and targeting, like some ED, ing words you kind of want to do, you may destroy this to avoid an attack. If you do, you could do that. Or it says, you may discard a card to avoid an attack and discard a card. I don't know why you want it. Or gain a card. Could be interesting. Again, it might not work as well on some of these because they're attacking defense, some of the other stuff. Just have Tiny, the pet wizard here. It says, you may put a spell from your discard pile on top of your deck. So you could change spell to anything else. You could say wizard, creature, treasure, location, legend, spellbook, familiar. You could definitely gain any specific card you want from that So that could be really cool. I don't think discard pile is the same as discard. I think the idea is because it's a capital word. Might be the only thing is I wonder if a capital word has to be the same as a capital word. Um, but yeah, so some of these might not work as well. You might have to actually grab some actual like spell cards and stuff. Like if I just grab even like a, yeah, I think you could probably have to get some of the spells or creatures or other regular cards. But yeah, this could be definitely a pretty interesting card to play. Alright, so the last thing I just want to add into here, as long as I have this out, is so we have the books here for holding cards. So we had Volume 1, Magnus and Minging Manual, which holds all your oversized cards. I have mine sleeved. They fit in here fairly well. Like I said, sometimes they might push these a little bit, but it's not too bad. And then I have all my spell books and my wands. Now, or my familiars, sorry. This is just ones that have both. That's why it's all pretty much even. I have all my, I actually sorted them all out, so it's all the same cards going top to bottom in each pile, just because I wanted to figure out which one was. But if I just I have a little bit of room. But now there's not enough room to hold every card. So what I did, I took Volume 2, I bought a second Volume 1, because I thought Volume 2 was going to have the same thing, but instead, Volume 2 has a bunch of stuff for holding tokens, has some cards, you can put like some different cards, different tokens and stuff, and I might still use this for something else, but I didn't really like it that much. I have my own token holders personally, but I popped out the insert, I put it in book 2, so that I could use both books like that, and then this is where I put all the rest of them. So this is just the familiars only pile, which I should actually probably put on this side to match the other one. And then again, I went top down. And then all the rest of them on the bottom are all the ones that have nothing. So there are 28 I counted that don't have anything. And I think we had 16 of these. 3, 4, 21. So I have 21 that only have 21 that only have familiars. So out of 100 and I think it was 13, we have about 40 something, so less than half that don't have both. So it's not too bad. We're gaining there. It's coming through. Well, if we do look at some of these ones towards the back, just because I kind of wanted to point this out. So I think Scrog was the last one that had me. So yeah, so some of the ones that don't have any are from some of the earlier sets. Like Krasitor, Pister, Ladyverse. Some of the first ones. Some that were from, like, I don't remember which series this was, but there was a couple in there from the middle series. We're missing just a few here and there. We got a couple that have nothing. And I know that, like, a bunch here towards the end were from the school one. We didn't have any from that one either. I don't know like, any from the school one. And then there's the 2 promo cards, which I've mentioned. Wilhellian and Dr. Hannah, which I don't think we'll ever get anything for. I'm not sure, because they have likenesses, so they might have to get permission for that. And then we've only go through this, the ones just familiars only. A lot of these were promo ones. From Fantastic Friends Volume 1, or they were other artwork ones. So they were like special promo one, Fantastic Friends, Fantastic Friends, Fantastic Friends, alt art or guest artist, just special promo, guest artist, Fantastic Friends, promo, Fantastic Friends, guest artist, Fantastic Friends. This one only had one because the one set came with it. They included it in there as an introduction to it. Alt guest artists. So a lot of other guest artists, and I did say, and I think, I wonder if they're not going to get the guest artists because they're waiting on either one of two things. Either one, they decide, and maybe they do or don't. I don't know how the legality of this works, but they might legally, maybe they need to use like even some artwork or some of the stuff. Maybe they need to have like permission from that artist to do something that kind of looks at that, or because maybe they want the spell books to looking the same style. They want to get them person to do it. Maybe they just haven't got around to be able to find that person again, or maybe if they paid them money, maybe they couldn't pay them enough money. I don't know how that works. Whether these guys did it for free is a helpful thing, or they paid them a certain amount of money to do that. So yeah, that might be a monetary issue, is just getting them to do it. And maybe they don't want, or maybe they don't want to like use part of their characters or part of their design, so someone think they're ripping off their art style, or they don't want to have it be completely different. So we might get like half of them of this 28 here. We might never get because they're guest artists. The other half were fantastic promos from 1, and I think again that was just the issue of how do you deliver them so that the people that bought Fantastic Friends 1 get them, but they don't regularly need to be available for everyone else. And then eventually, if they did release them and they re-release Fantastic Friends 1, like as a bundle somewhere, anyone can go pick it up, then they could combine them all together. But I don't know. That's what we got. Alright, so that's how I'm going to end this, or interject this back into the video. That's what we got. See you guys later.